Hello and welcome to Beyond the Game, a series brought to you by Nottingham Forest, proudly supported by Iona Next. This series will take you beyond the final whistle and into the lives of the incredible women who proudly wear the Garibaldi red. So please join us as we go beyond the game. Well, today's episode is all about the balance of sport and motherhood, and I am delighted to be joined by Nottingham Forest Women's captain Lyndsey Harkin and Nottingham Forest Netball's Iona Christian. Hi guys, it's great to see you both. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, of course, today's episode is all about motherhood, and I just introduced you guys with your sporting titles, but another title that you guys now hold is the title of mom. And I thought it would be great to start off by hearing about your stories of where you were at in your sporting career when you found out that you were going to be having a baby. Lyndsey, I'll start with you.
Okay, I'll start then. So I've had my first child when I found out I was pregnant when I was 19, so I was quite young. I was at Doncaster at the time, Doncaster Bell, so I'd just moved over there from Forest previously. And then the second time with my second child, I think I was 25. Yeah, 25, and I was at Forest at that moment as well. So two children, but at different clubs at the time. So yeah, one's 13, Ruben, he's 13 now, and Connor's 7.
Amazing. And Iona, what about you?
Yeah, so Laurie, my son, he's just turned 1. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I found out I was pregnant almost 2 years ago, and I was. I'd just signed with Sirens, and we'd been hoping to have a family, but it wasn't really going to plan, so decided I was going to wait another year, and then 2 weeks after I signed, found out I was pregnant, so it was a little bit of a surprise, and yeah, going into a World Cup that summer as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Busy year.
Quite busy.
Very busy year. Lyndsey, I just want to go back to, finding out that you were going to be having a baby at 19 and also pursuing a career in football. And you also work, would you have at the time been full-time or?
No, part-time at
Part-time?
work, yeah.
Yeah, so that is a lot to juggle at quite a young age. Kind of, when you found out, what were your first thoughts going through your head?
Well, surprise at first. It was quite a shock, but the good thing with my family is that they're very supportive. He's now my husband, obviously he was my boyfriend at the time, but I think they made me feel at ease. We knew that it was going to be a challenge, but babies are amazing, so we knew that it was going to be a good challenge and one that we relished. So it was thanks to the support and love from family members really that has helped us to become a good family now.
Yeah, and I think a really interesting topic to talk about is like this phrase, family planning. People sometimes grow up and they know when they want to have a kid, and the reality of it is that it doesn't always happen that way. I only touched on it a little bit then. For you, what was, in your mind, what did you think was going to happen in terms of a time scale of what you wanted to happen, I guess?
A good question. I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think we hadn't really thought about it too much. I knew I always wanted a family, and I knew that I wasn't going to, for me, playing sport wasn't going to stop me from doing that. Mm-hmm. I know that's not everyone's kind of thought process is that way, but I knew I wanted a family, and then relatively young as well. And I think we didn't really think about it that much. And I said it hadn't quite gone to plan, but then that was only kind of like a month or two down the line. Like we hadn't really tried for a family for very long. So in my head, it was going to be a straightforward process. And like for me, in the end, it was fairly straightforward, which was really nice because I know kind of issues around like fertility and things like that aren't that straightforward for everyone.
Yeah, of course. And I like that you kind of said that regardless of the sport that you played and stuff, you knew that that's what you wanted to do, and at the age that you have. But for a lot of people, that's not the case, isn't it? And did you ever think growing up that playing sport and wanting to pursue sport professionally was ever going to stop you from having a family?
To be honest, I didn't really think of it that way. I think even when I fell pregnant at 19 and had him at 20, then I never thought that I would not go back to football. I always knew that that's what I wanted to do. If anything, I think it just gave me a bit more resilience and strength to get back to it and prove a point. I don't know who to, but maybe to myself, maybe to other people, I don't know. But I never thought it would stop me. I don't know if you was the same, but like some people find it difficult to make that choice, but I think it's always a difficult thing to be a mum, but once you've done that, made that decision, I think you realise how it comes to fruition, and it's an amazing thing to do.
I'd love to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, but I think one question that really stood out for me and I want to understand in the whole term of this topic, what does maternity leave look like when you are playing sport professionally? Because it must not be the traditional one that we see with people that are in full-time work. Iona, what did it look like for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably very different across different sports, and then even within different teams within sports as well. And for me, I use the word fortunate and lucky, but I don't think that should necessarily be the case, to be honest. But I felt like I was in the position I was with Sirens. They were so supportive, and I managed to stay in my contract with the hope that I was going to get back and play that season. But then my birth was complicated, had an emergency C-section, so my recovery was a little bit longer than I hoped, so I actually didn't get back for that season. But the support that I received whilst I was pregnant and postpartum was absolutely amazing from Sirens and Thistles at the time. And I think, I was very fortunate that they supported me through that, and I was still very much part of the team, even though for a large period of that year I wasn't on the court, obviously because I was pregnant. And then the recovery afterwards, it's like recovering from a major injury, really. So for me, maternity leave was kind of, I don't know, the best part of a year, really, kind of away from the court. Competitive matches, definitely at least a year away from the court. But I don't know, the word maternity is quite hard because it is so different, I think, in sport. Because it's not kind of a set period of time, or there's not a set pay, or like it's a bit of a flexible sort of term, I think, in female sport.
Yeah, well, I can imagine that there's only starting to be a blueprint for it being created in recent times, isn't there? But for you, Iona, your birth was literally just over a year ago now of your baby boy, but for you it would have been a little bit longer ago, where a lot of, women's sport in general back then would have been so different to what we see today. So what did it look like for you at the time?
Well, at the time at Doncaster, it fell where we had summer breaks. It was a summer season, so I found out I was pregnant. We had the summer break, and I kind of just stopped going a little bit. They still supported me in some ways, like calling me and everything, and I sometimes went to the matches and training. But there wasn't maternity pay. We got paid per game then, so I didn't have that income coming in from that. So I just got more work shifts with my normal job. With Forest, again, I fell pregnant at the back end of the season or in the off season, so I just didn't play that next season. We weren't on contracts then. It's obviously a lot different now. It's professional. So what that would look like now, I don't know. But at the time, we were amateur, so it didn't really have. There was no pay involved in that sort of way. So for maternity, but yeah, you hear it spoken about a lot more now, which is, I think, the more we talk about these things, the better. That hopefully things are improving, not just in maternity, but all aspects of women's sport. You can see how much more it's talked about and improving. So long may that continue, I think.
And you speak there about now Forest Women are working on this hybrid professional model, which has meant that women are now earning what they should be earning to play football and being able to do it full time if they wish to do so. Does that give you hope for maybe some of the women coming up the ranks at Forest, knowing that if they were to be in a similar situation to you when you were at Doncaster, that they're going to get the support that they needed and feel a bit safer in it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, contracts are still quite short, but the way the club have backed us has been amazing. Like, we've seen it in the netball as well, like the way they're promoting us and really pushing us, and young girls can grow up in Nottingham being a netball player, a footballer. So yeah, I think the way the club have backed us is showing that they care about us and they want us to do well. So I think, yeah, it's a positive place to be.
Good. It sounds like it's moving in the right direction, definitely. Iona, if you're comfortable to talk about it, you mentioned there about you had quite a difficult birth and ended up having an emergency C-section. You know, for that, in that period of time where you knew that you wanted to get back to the court as fast as you possibly could, that must have been quite a stressful time for you to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the first few weeks, I mean, you can probably relate to this, are just a bit of a whirlwind, and I wasn't really thinking about netball, to be honest, in those first few weeks. I was just trying to keep a human alive and kind of, just be able to, I don't know, go out for a walk, never mind kind of get back on a netball court. But I think kind of when the reality kind of like hit, I was more actually, I don't want to rush back because my body is not in a state to be able to rush back and be okay. And actually, it was always an open-ended conversation that I'd had in the club and with Scotland as well. And they were really supportive of that and kind of allowed me to come back in my own time, as well as giving me the right support, whether that was with like female health specialists or pelvic health support, which was absolutely brilliant to get me back in a decent position to play netball again. But I think, yeah, surrounding all of that, just actually being able to make those decisions for myself in that time, because I did find the birth fairly traumatic, and for a long period I found it quite hard to talk about, and I used to get quite emotional about it all. And even I think a year on, actually reflecting back on that, it's massively helped me, I think, realise actually what does happen to your body, even if you have a straightforward birth. During pregnancy and birth, no matter how you give birth to your child, a lot happens to your body pre and post that. So I think actually, yeah, I knew I just wanted to get back to be fit, not rush back just for the sake of getting on court, which was really important to me, and I felt really supported in that, which was good.
And I feel like that shows just how much a priority shift happens, doesn't it, when you do become a mother and you've now got this young child to look after and protect. And did you guys really feel that? Because I bet before, you know, when you play a sport for so long and you want to achieve the sport at the top of its elite level, that can be at the top of the pecking order for so long. What was that feeling instantly when you finally had this child and you were like, oh my gosh, you're my world now?
I mean, before that, you're just thinking about yourself, aren't you? You've just got yourself to kind of keep healthy, but then you've got another little baby to look after. So it's a whole new sort of responsibility. And I touched on it a bit earlier, like it gave you a bit of a sense of purpose, a bit of more resilience. Like you've been through a lot through your pregnancy and your birth, then you can do it. You feel like you can do anything after that once you're back and healthy and fit again. So yeah, it's a bit of a shock to the system, definitely massive sort of whirlwind at the start, but once you find your feet, like it's an amazing thing.
What was your experience of postpartum recovery? Was there an even bigger drive to get back on the pitch?
Well, pretty much similar to Iona. I had an emergency C-section with my first as well, so I understand what you mean about just getting yourself healthy again. I think nothing can prepare you for that, I don't think, really. But yeah, once you start feeling a bit more normal and settled in sort of your routines and things, then yeah, I was looking to get back as healthy as I could. And it fell quite nicely for me that I think when I had him in October, Ruben, by the middle of January, luckily I healed really nicely and fine. And that's when pre-season started again. So it actually fell fairly nicely for me to get back into it. With Connor, my second, it was a little bit longer. It just took me a bit longer to recover. But yeah, it felt quite nice for that.
Yeah. And I think it's really special. I don't know whether you've seen, but Iona, you've just shared your story with us there, but you were really open about it on your social media. More recently, you've been posting kind of like week updates on what your postpartum journey was like. And hopefully this episode in itself is going to reach out to people who may have gone through something similar or are just intrigued to know. But have you felt that talking about it has helped you process it more as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think even just for me, like I said, I found it quite traumatic, and to not really have spoken about it, only really to close family and friends over the last year. And then when Laurie turned 1, I kind of had to think back to kind of, what I'd just been through across that whole year, and a lot happened in the space of a year, kind of, yeah, postpartum wise and netball wise. So to reflect on it has definitely helped me, kind of think about what I've overcome to get back on a netball court. But also I thought when I went into when I found out I was pregnant, I wasn't someone that sort of researched stuff or read a lot. I kind of went into the whole thing quite naive. And yeah, kind of everything I came across was a little bit of a surprise, I guess, in some ways. So if what I can share parts of my journey can maybe help one or two other people, then I'm happy to share some of it on social media. Obviously, there's some bits that, well, for me anyway, it would be a bit too much to share, but more than happy if anyone reached out and wanted more conversation around stuff, then I think it's conversations that can really, really help. So if that helps one or two people on their journey, then I enjoy having those conversations.
Yeah. And I guess, have you had anybody reach out that's seen them and message you to say this was really useful, or, you know, it's opened some eyes to some people? I know that Nat Metcalfe is now pregnant and plays for Manchester Thunder. Have, you know, being in the same industry, I guess, has she messaged or reached out to lean on and get some advice?
Yeah, I actually saw Nat a few weeks ago at the Super Cup, and obviously we played together at Thunder for a little while, so I know Nat quite well. I'm really excited for her to be a mum, so it was nice to kind of hear about her pregnancy journey and her kind of, she's been quite open about she wants to get back to netball as well afterwards, so it's been quite nice to kind of share a little bit with her, and hopefully once she has her little one, we'll be able to chat a bit more as well.
Yeah. I want to know a little bit more about the actual pregnancy itself, because obviously you guys would have been thinking you're taking your babies to full term, but with the knowledge knowing that once you've given birth, you want to get back to playing elite level sport. So how kind of long were you still doing things whilst pregnant? I've seen videos of Nat. I think she's still doing brilliantly, isn't she? And I've seen videos of like Olympians who are still training and lifting weights at, I don't know, 6 months. What was the case for both of you, Lyndsey?
Well, I think the doctors always say, like, try and not change too much in what you're doing. Obviously not too extreme, but your body's used to that exercise, so I think you need to kind of keep up some form of exercise. And I guess now sort of more research has gone into it, it's actually normal to do that. People might look at, if you're in a gym or something and you're heavily pregnant or quite far gone, then they might frown upon it, but why shouldn't you do that? That's, you know, that's what your body's used to. So I think it's important to kind of, obviously boundaries and how you feel and stuff like that you've got to take into account, but I think it's important to kind of encourage that as well.
Yeah. Is the first trimester as bad as people say?
Everyone's different. That's
Everyone's so different.
Really?
Yeah.
Like I was never sick or anything like that, so I was quite fortunate. But I don't know if yours was different. But
I had a little bit of morning sickness, but I've heard a lot worse stories.
Yeah,
so I think I was,
stories.
got off fairly lightly.
Oh, that's good. And for you, when you were pregnant, how long into your pregnancy were you still training, I guess?
Similar to Lyndsey, like fairly far along. Like all the advice that I got given was to kind of keep doing what I was doing, what my body was used to. And for me, I think I was 2.5 months pregnant when I was actually at the World Cup. So that was still playing kind of pretty high level netball at that point. But I felt healthy and well and was told it was safe. So, but that's obviously like a choice thing. And then I think, managed to carry on bits of training kind of up until Christmas, but stop the contact sort of stuff. But gym stuff, I think, fairly carried on until fairly late. And I heard actually you can actually make some strength gains in the last trimester of pregnancy, because you get a bit of a boost of testosterone or something. So like, you can actually make some gains at the end. And obviously that helps with your recovery as well. If you stay fit and strong throughout your pregnancy, it's slightly easier and quicker to recover afterwards.
That's so interesting, and I can't believe that you competed to that level whilst pregnant too. That's so impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, I maybe wouldn't do that again, to be honest.
Be exhausted.
Yeah, I was very tired.
I think it just goes to show, because I guess like the old-fashioned attitude around this is like people think that a woman's life is over once they have children, and you hear so much, don't you, of people saying comments like that, but this is prime example that it absolutely is not the case. But I think one saying that everybody knows is that it takes a village, and I'd really love to hear your examples of that, because Lyndsey, I said earlier, you're a busy woman. A busy woman. So for you, at the time that you found out with your first pregnancy, and then obviously you had a bit of experience going into your second, how valuable were the people around you?
Oh, I wouldn't be able to do it without them. They're amazing support, husband, family, from both sides. Like, I wouldn't be able to do what I do to provide for my family without them. So it really does take a village. That's the truth. It really does.
And in terms of looking at the opposite end of it with paternity leave as well, like I think sometimes that goes amiss, and how important it is for the dads in children's lives to have time as well at the beginning of birth. Was that something that was balanced quite easily between you and his job?
Yeah, to be fair, when I had Ruben, I worked when I went back to work, I worked in the evenings as well. So he took over in the evenings, and he went to work in the day. So it was quite a fair balance in the start with Ruben. But yeah, I think paternity leave, like it is so important for them to make that bond. And sometimes they are a little bit forgotten about. Everyone asks how the mum is, but kind of forget about the dad a little bit. So I think it's important to talk about those things and have them support for the dads out there as well.
Yeah, I think I'd be interested to know your opinions in terms of, obviously, for male athletes that are having children, they don't have the whole process of what we've been talking about in terms of recovery after the birth. However, there is that element of, well, they're also getting sleepless nights too, and that element.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Do you see it as, I think it's easy sometimes, isn't it, to see, looking at the other sex and thinking, oh, it's unfair, they don't have to go through that. But you guys as mums now with supportive partners, what do you think about that when you look at male athletes?
Yeah, I mean, for me particularly, once I just had Laurie, having John's around at home to help out was massive. And he only got 2 weeks paternity leave, which compared to what women get is not very much at all. And like you said, they have sleepless nights, and it's important for them to spend time with their children as well. And I think, that was massive for me to have him around. So I don't know. I think that paternity there should maybe be more of that, because it's a balance. And I think now, especially because more women are wanting to go back to work sooner as well, even having the choice to kind of make that a balance between the two of you would be really important. And I think just touching on kind of male athletes, they don't have that toll on their body of pregnancy and birth and stuff to deal with, but it's a huge responsibility that comes with becoming a parent, and they have that side of things. So, it's an interesting topic of conversation. I don't think it's really spoken about that much at all.
Because I don't think there's an attitude of you guys being pitted against each other when it comes to any athlete, whatever gender, having a child. But, it is interesting because the recovery is different and so on. What do you think about it, Lyndsey? Do you think it's it's not unfair? Would you say it's unfair?
No, I don't. I guess it's quite difficult to answer, but it's not. I wouldn't say unfair. It is what it is, isn't it? Like you can only do so much with your body, so it's one of those really. But yeah, like we said, we've touched on both there, that the more we talk about it and them supports for both genders as well, then it's important to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Iona, on the topic of It Takes a Village, I really loved seeing across socials how amazing Nottingham Forest Netball as a whole team have been when it comes to helping you out. I've seen Chelsea taking your boys around the park and stuff. When, you have your families and things at home, but also being able to have that support at work too. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been massive, to be honest. I think, we moved our whole lives to Nottingham, so we don't necessarily have family that close. I mean, my mum, bless her, does come over every Monday to look after Laurie, and that's a massive help. And Jonathan's parents are up and down as well. So to have the support from family is incredible. But actually coming to Nottingham and being a bit further from family than we were, that support that I've had from the team's just been incredible. I think, Chelsea often takes Laurie on a little walk on a Thursday morning when we're in the gym, and I think courtside, a lot of the support staff have ended up entertaining him for half an hour or so while I've been doing court sessions. So, and the girls, obviously, they love having him around and are always keen to. I kind of forget, because I feel like sometimes it's a bit of a burden giving a child to someone else, but everyone loves it. So, and Laurie loves it as well. So, it's been really important to me for them to just kind of welcome Laurie into the environment and just made it really easy.
Oh, that's lovely. And for you, was there any times like that when you had to bring the boys along, and you've had scenarios where people have really kind of chipped in to help? Yeah,
there's been a few occasions. Like quite recently, they came to the training ground and they keep asking to come back. And I was like, maybe not this time, because they've got hot chocolate and all sorts. So yeah, they love it. I mean, it's nice, isn't it, that your friends at work or sport or whatever that can really connect with your children. It's amazing. So they definitely love the attention as well.
Yeah. And I really like the fact that you are both boy moms, and you are and you are bringing up boys, and they're watching their moms achieve such amazing things as female athletes. And I think, there's so many topics about, if we looked at, when you were growing up in school and you were growing up in school, and the attitude that young boys had towards women in sport. Is that something that you're really trying to ingrain in them as you're growing up, to show, look what women can do and look what mommy can do? Is that something that you like to show them?
Yeah, to be honest, it just comes quite naturally because they see it so much. It's normal for them. they watch football, when it came to watch you at the netball the other week, they loved it. Like, they just love it. I think any sport, they always say like, oh, is it the women or the men? And they just watch it anyway. So, but it's really important for them to see them role models in both sexes, I think. You know, when they grow up, they might get a girlfriend, they've got girlfriends. You know, it's important for them to champion them girls as well. So, yeah, it's really important part of being a mum in general as well.
Do you think Laurie's going to want to play netball when he's older?
I hope so.
See, my boy wanted to play netball. He's like, can we play? I was like, well, yeah, you can do it. Yeah. That'd be amazing.
That would be good. You should do a crossover.
Yeah.
When Laurie's old enough, of course.
Yeah.
But no, that's really nice. And I like that that's what they're seeing when they grow up. And it's just going to become second nature to them, which I guess is something that at the moment we're trying to figure out with kids that are growing up, isn't it? What kind of values are really important to you with being a mom? You know, you're bringing up kids in a really difficult time in the world at the moment. Is there something that you really pride yourself on teaching your boys as they grow up?
Oh, there's so much to touch on. I don't know.
Do we have time?
I guess for me, a really important part of my upbringing, as in I've been part of like a church family, and I think moving to Nottingham and finding a church and kind of having that support network as well has been massive. So I think, having Laurie kind of grown up with those values is really important to me and my husband. And I think as well, kind of Lyndsey touched on it before, having him in and around that kind of my environment, if you like, which I can share with him, with other women, and like how inspiring other women can be, and to kind of grow up kind of seeing that's really important, I think.
What about you?
Well, it's quite hard. Like, it's quite a lot to you teach. I guess just like being that helps that they see women being the top of their sports, like being open-minded to that, being supportive, being kind, just being fun, like just having a good time, but being really nice to people at the same time. I think that's really important.
And being a massive Forest fan.
That goes without saying. Yeah, that goes without saying.
I love it. I mean, we spoke, about the difficulties of what you guys went through, and, you've clearly come out the other side of it, and it's brilliant to see. But was there ever a moment during pregnancy, motherhood, where the kind of what if of what was next of becoming a mother, you thought, maybe sport isn't going to happen for me? Was there ever anything that, you thought, oh, this could stop me in my tracks?
Don't know. There's been moments where it's really difficult, but I've always been quite determined to do what I love. So I still wanted to do that. So I don't know. There's always hurdles. People could get injured. There's so many different factors to sport that can affect it. But I think the determination, the resilience that you show through pregnancy and being a mum does help you along that journey as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's just being determined, I think.
Was there anything that specifically was most difficult for you?
To be honest, the pregnancy and birth itself has been the most difficult thing in my career, probably, that I've had to overcome. And I think in those initial weeks, kind of is the only time it's probably crossed my mind, or maybe I won't be able to get back to the level that I was at. But like Lyndsey said again, that just kind of gaining that motivation and determination to kind of, I wanted to get back on the court, so I was going to do everything I could to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lyndsey, you spoke earlier about how empowered you felt once you'd had your boys, and you just wanted to get back to the sport completely. But you are now a 2-time National League Cup winner, leading Forest to some amazing achievements with this team. And did it kind of become even more special knowing that your boys were in the crowd?
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you've seen any of the clips and the videos from the day, they've absolutely loved it. This time they couldn't get on the pitch, but the previous one they got on the pitch and lifted the trophy. So they was in their absolute element. And yeah, my littlest one said that was the best day of his life the other day when we won the cup. I know. So it's really sweet. They just love it. They love being a part of it. So it makes you feel really proud when you sort of sit back and see them in the crowd and realise what it means to them as well as me and the club.
An extra push almost.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I love that you're quite new to it. And
I was hearing stories like that just made me quite excited.
And was that almost an instant feeling, like, once Laurie was old enough to be able to come and see you on court and see what was going on, can was that just even more of a motivation to just do better and do well in the sport that you love?
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, it kind of changes your perspective a little bit. And I don't know about you, but I think now going back to netball after having Laurie, I just feel a bit more relaxed in that environment because I've got other things to think about as well. So I think, just kind of being able to bring him along was really special.
I feel like from both stories it's been difficult, but now it feels like such an amazing experience to be a mom and doing what you're doing. But I guarantee that there's so many people out there at the moment that are wanting to achieve a career in the sport that they love and almost feel like this could be a stopper in it, the idea of having a family. How prevalent do you think that opinion is out there in women in sport? Do you think it's still something that stops them from doing what they want to do?
Possibly. I won't want to speak on behalf of people, but I think there's proof in multiple sports that people have had babies and come back arguably stronger, and still won things. There's at the top of the game, Serena Williams. She's come and won Grand Slams after having a baby. So I guess some people choose to do it at different times, and that's the only difference. But hopefully that it wouldn't stop someone wanting to have a baby, and they can sort of see from this chat, from other people's stories, that it can be done.
And obviously it must be a lot to balance, but I guess the thing that's really special with sport is that sometimes you do have a bit of time to, you're not missing out on some of the big milestones and things like that, like birthdays and things with flexible schedules. Lyndsey, I know that you also are, and you're freelance designer too, so I'm not sure whether I've said this to the right people. But, if you were to look at like a day in your life, how does it work with your time with Laurie and then balancing it all on top of it?
Yeah, I mean, the word free time is quite
not a thing.
It's quite hard to come by, I think, at the moment. It feels like that anyway. But particularly on like training day, I'll go to training. We train kind of half days pretty much. And whether Laurie's with me for that or whether my mum's got him, or he does 2 mornings in nursery. So organisational skills have kind of gone through the roof, I think, since having him. But yeah, so normally training in the morning, and then I have him in the afternoon. So that can look different on a day-to-day basis. And then my husband, he normally finishes work around 5 o'clock. So he often does the bedtime routine. And by that point, if I can fit in a bit of work, I will. But normally there's a lot to sort out around the house by the end of the day. So that doesn't always happen.
It sounds like you both have like more bring your child to work days than anybody else on the planet. But I guess that's the nice thing, isn't it? They get to see it up front and centre.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's finding that balance, and like you say, that organisation's the key, and as long as with the little helpers as well along the way. So it's finding that balance between it all that's important.
We've touched on, elements of what Forest have incorporated now in their hybrid models, and obviously it's amazing to see netball in itself grow into the professional sport that it is becoming. But what do you think there needs to be more of to support women in sport that are looking to have a family? I'd like to hear both of your opinions on that. Whoever wants to go.
That's a tough question.
Sorry.
From my point of view, I think longer contracts sometimes is because you get quite short contracts. So if you've got a bit of security, I think the further the game's going, the more support it's getting. And like I said, the club have backed us so much that it's progressing. So I think I can see it improving season on season. But I think that's one thing, that it's quite a short contract. So Iona's moved her life up into Nottingham. So if you've only got a short contract, I don't know, like it's quite difficult. So it's making them commitments. But that would help as well if it was a bit longer contract.
And would you say that that's purely for women in sport as well? That's not so or do you think that's something that should be considered for any young person that's going into sport? And
anyone, I guess, really. Yeah, you want that security. I'm just talking from my experience sort of thing, really, than anyone else.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. That security is important. I also think just obviously more conversations are happening, but I think that family planning aspects, if you want a family at some point, whether that's in the next year, next 10 years, and you're an athlete, I think that initial conversation, or I don't know, maybe needs to be prompted, because I know personally for me, I was worried about that and didn't have a conversation with anyone in the netball world before I had a family. And actually, once I'd gone through the pregnancy and then obviously let the netball people know that I was pregnant, I actually felt very supported and was surprised by how excited people were for me, and kind of all that worry and anxiety that I had kind of disappeared. And I actually wish I'd had conversations with people previously about what it looks like to be an athlete and have a family. But I was worried to have them. So I think if maybe I felt like that, then there are other people that feel the same. So I think kind of a support around that before you have a family would be really important. And then obviously there's a lot of research and stuff going into kind of exercising while you're pregnant and then postpartum recovery. And I think just the more conversations we can have about that and education around that. I don't think I'd really heard much about pelvic floor until I was pregnant. And actually it's really important, even if you're not going to have a child, to know about female health. And I know conversations around fertility as well are becoming more, but I just think, I mean, I know friends that are athletes that speak about kind of like freezing their eggs, or like, do they carry on their career and then have a family, and like what implications that might have. So I just think, yeah, just more education, more chat and discussions around those sort of things would be really beneficial.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it's great to hear about it from a sports aspect, but that conversation around family planning, I think, goes out wider than just sport and women in sport, because, you know, we're only just getting past the time now where people were scared to tell their employer that they were pregnant or wanted a family within the next year, and that's quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really interesting to hear it from your guys' perspective. And, you know, that education that you speak about, do you think that should be coming from, I don't know, from the big organisations and just making people aware that this is a possibility as being a woman playing this sport?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think as well, it just needs to come. I know when I left the hospital, I think one of the doctors said, do you know your pelvic floor exercises? I said yes, and that was the end of that conversation. And I just thought, well, looking back on that, I was just so lucky that I had the support to do those exercises. And actually, if you're someone that's not in, if you're a woman that just wants to get back to exercise after having a baby, or get back to your local netball team or walking netball, or football or any sport, then you need to know what your pelvic floor is and kind of all that comes around that. And I just think actually to kind of be sent home after having a child and then no one talked to me about going back to exercise, it was a bit of an eye-opener to, wow, like people don't get the support to get back to exercise after having a baby. I was just fortunate that I'm in the elite level of sport where there is that support there.
Yeah. And do you think being at the elite level for you, maybe at Doncaster, it would have been different when we go back to them, but, you know, for those that are in grassroots or maybe playing in lower divisions and things like that, is this even more difficult as a possibility, do you think?
Yeah, it goes back to that education side, doesn't it? Like, it's the more chats you have, the more information you get. Well, research helps, but like you say, when you leave the hospital, you're just like, bye. Like, that's it. Off you go. Like, we need to be talking more about these things and educating more. Yeah,
and get it to filter down.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just at the top level. Yeah, because I'm listening to you guys and I just think you guys are superhumans, to be honest. I think it's absolutely incredible. Anyone that is out there, any mother anyway, but the fact that you guys have bounced back and are still doing what you're doing is incredible. And the last question that I wanted to put to you guys was, if you were to, you know, for young athletes now that are looking at the pathways ahead of them, whether it's in football, netball, any sport, if you were going to give them a message, if they also had the ambitions to be a mom one day, what would that be?
I'd say it will be the best time of your life, because the journey they take you on, the laughs, it's tough too, but it's worth it, because the love and like the laughter that you get from them, the resilience you build, the strength, it's just a great journey to be on.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I echo that. It's the best decision I ever made to be a mum and still carry on playing netball. And there are so many inspirational women, female athletes out there to have as role models. And I think taking your child along that journey with you is just something really special, and you're not going to get that time back. So yeah, I'd recommend it.
Oh, guys, I've absolutely loved this. I really do think that you guys have superpowers. I think it's brilliant. Thank you guys so much for coming on Beyond the Game, Lyndsey and Iona. Thank you.